Let's go ahead and start first item on the agenda, July 12th minutes. Any questions? Okay. All right. Public safety report.
Director's coming.
Director's coming. Okay,
I can give you mine if you want.
let's go.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Commissioners, citizens. As code compliance, we've been working closely with Arco Construction at 170 North Riverview, Imaging Lower Flats. They're close to being complete. Electrical permits, we had 86. Electrical permits for the month of June for $16,468. Building permits, we had 20. Those include like about 9 roofing permits, which was $6,342.28. Had 3 vendors that applied for vendors permits. Dump sites, we got dump sites that we've been keeping our eye on closely. I just actually visited one earlier today.
Okay.
Enforcement, we had 163 violations for grass cutting. 39 of those were abated, 124 for vacant lots on residential properties. Business license and registrations, we took in $5,150. Rental registration fees for the month of July were $20,153. No certificates of occupancies were given out at this time. That's it, sir.
Thank you. Any questions for the code enforcement? Okay. All right. Mr. Iverson.
Those tags that go out for grass, long grass, they also include litter check boxes.
Yep. Yes.
You just referred to it as grass. Were there any other violations on
No, not that I'm aware of. It was grass, but typically we check off both if it's grass or it's trash debris or litter on the property. We do those as well, and they have certain amount of days that they have to remove those items as well.
What is the definition of abatement on that?
Is cutting your grass.
They did it, or?
We will come out and abate it for you. Yes.
Okay. And what's the charge for that?
$200.
And then does that go on taxes, or how do you collect?
We will send out an invoice to each individual, and if it's not paid within a certain amount of time, yeah, it probably will roll over to your taxes.
Huh.
I'm pretty sure it is gonna roll over to your taxes.
Huh. Who would be tuned into that collections part of the process?
Probably the finance department.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? That concludes the code enforcement. We'll turn it over to the chief.
Any questions on the report?
No, we already.
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. Okay.
This month and last month.
Mm-hmm. Anybody got any questions on?
Yes.
Mhm.
One question I was getting was, when it gets cold, does Operation Safe Place go inside or does it end? How much longer will it go?
It's done.
It's done? Okay.
Anything you want to report that's not on the report?
No, everything is there. Really, we've been working diligently recruiting. We got some people in the pipe. We're very promising. We're taking the lion's share of our time. So we're still operating down about 7 to 8.
Mhm.
So that's really what we're trying to get people in position, get them on board in academies, fire, police. That's really it. Everything is there.
Okay. Question?
Public safety.
Yeah.
just got a question about, right there on Main Street, people been making U-turns a lot, trying to do a little shopping. Can we put a sign up or something? I know it's Main Street, but I've been noticing a lot of, right there in front of the farmer's market, like, not the park on Main Street, is that legal to do that?
It is illegal. Right, it's on in front of
Well, on Main Street, right in front of like the park on Main Street. They just come down Main Street to park on the other side or whatever,
No bowl.
So is that legal to do that?
That's otherwise.
it's hard to turn. With cars on both sides, but no, you turn, that's not legal.
Mhm.
So I haven't seen it, but bars though.
Well, I know I just sit out there talking to Commissioner Evers, and I just noticed it happens a lot.
They usually do it when it's mostly in the morning and evening, so they're closing time, and after they're opening, there's no cars, like, then when there's enough space on one side, they'll make it through.
Mhm.
But if the cars on both sides, they can stop.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Anything, Mr. Fire Marshal, or do you want to move to the medic part?
I didn't really have anything for the month, other than the fact we're now at 22 students for our next fire academy as of today. So it'll be our largest by far ever. Not the city of Niles registered 3.
Okay.
We could, but I'm afraid that, as long as we have the instructors, I want to do much. I don't want to do much more, but obviously we're popular.
After those academy, they pick what city they want to go to, or does that city send them?
No, the city has to send them to us. They have to have a sponsor coming to us. But we have picked up people that come through our academy. We've been able to hire.
Okay, Deputy Director Clark, you got anything you want to?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the update on the Medic One.
Yeah, and originally Jason Wiley from Medic One was supposed to be here. Unfortunately, he had something come up this evening. I just wanted to give you just a very quick overview of Medic One in the past 9 months. As you guys know, there was some turmoil at Medic One. We made some very swift changes in leadership. Myself now, I'm the secretary treasurer on the executive board, and things are going really, really well. We've put 2 new ambulances in service in the past year, with the third getting ready to go in service in Waterville. Here shortly, we've been able to take over the North County to do the failure of primary ambulance. So a lot of moving pieces, a lot of different stuff. The one thing that the executive board has noticed is the funding model for Medic One is broke. The original, and this is basically what Jason wanted to talk about. The original members, I think there's 10 of us, Benton Harbor being one, pay $6.86 a person as a subsidy. The newest members pay $27 and I think 87 cents a person as a subsidy. So the one thing we're trying to do as the executive board is fix that funding. 60% of the incidents for Medic One happen in Benton Harbor, Benton Township. I think it's 8% of the budget coming from Benton Harbor, Benton Township. So I'm not saying you're going to see a dramatic increase, but there'll probably be a request for increased funding in the future.
Is there any? Well, I guess they do that through the meals. It's an operating meal that come from that.
So Medic that's how SMACUS operates. They're able to operate through an operating millage. However, Medic is not set up that way. The structure is, it is owned by the entities that it serves. So Benton Harbor is actually an owner of Medic One. So at this point, we're not set up as a tax.
Okay.
How many, say, owners, partners in Medic?
Now there's 23. It just went from 7 or 18 to 20.
Commissioner Henry, you got question?
I just like to know who holds Medic One accountable? Because over the years, Medic One has did some horrible, horrible things to the residents of Ben Harbor. So who holds them accountable?
Well, that is our board. For the longest time, I'll be perfectly honest, the board didn't do a lot. There's a new board in place, and the board of directors is very much trying to hold everybody accountable.
Who appoints those people? How do they get on the board?
I'm appointed through the city manager, I know that, but I don't know. Every other agency is different.
Sure don't know what the other municipalities, how they appoint their people.
So are you the only Ben Harbor resident? Representative?
Yeah, there's only one per agency.
One per
So
municipality.
we have to hold you accountable if they do bad things, huh? Okay, that's what I need to know. I know you'll do your job. Thank you.
Any other questions showing the medical program? Was that anything?
That's all I really had. Jason will be here in the near future.
Okay.
It really, he can give you a lot more information than I have.
Mhm.
And he's gonna be able to break things down. As of now, no changes, but, eventually, the current business model just is not gonna last us forever.
Ms. Fields, did you have? Okay.
Good.
All right, that brings us to the next item on the agenda, item number 4, acceptance of MDOT Surface Transportation Program grant contract.
Good evening, I'm Tim Drews with Avonmarsh. So every 3 years, Twin Cats, which is the Metropolitan Planning Organization, does a call for projects. We submit projects for Benton Harbor. And one of them that was submitted, this happened back in 2020, but one of them that was submitted was Pipestone Street from Empire Avenue down to the south city limits. That road was last reconstructed back in 1999 and 2000, so it's 23 years old. Hasn't really had anything done to it. So this project is basically to mill off 2 inches of asphalt and repave with 2 inches of asphalt, and then rebuild ADA ramps, the handicap sidewalk ramps, bring those up to current standards. This money is federal aid money. It is only eligible for certain federal aid routes in the city. Some of the examples of it could be used on Pipestone or Colfax or Britain or Empire. Gives you an example of the major roads in the city are what are eligible for this money. So this project actually, our estimate, construction estimate right now is $284,000, and the grant is $232,000 of that. So there's a $51,000 local share that will come out of the major street fund. This is very similar to that signal thing we had the last time I was here. Basically, you just need to approve a resolution so we can get the contract for them to sign. It's just paperwork that needs to be done, and the resolution needs to be passed.
Okay.
So this project, if it continues to go forward, which we assume it will be bid in October, and construction will start next spring, early April. It'll probably take 4 to 5 weeks to get done. So it'll look like a new road when you're sitting down. So that's what I've got. Any questions, I'm happy to answer.
You see the starting point is, again, was
The north edge of Empire Avenue intersection, so it'll come through the Empire intersection and then head south all the way to the city limits.
oh, okay.
You can see at the city limits, there's concrete pavement, there's asphalt pavement, and there's a bump there. It's been there for a long time. That's the city limit line. So that's where it goes.
Okay.
We'll fix that bump.
We're gonna fix that bump. Bothers me as much as you.
Jason gave you mine, all. Oh, yes. So the curves, does that have anything to do with the curves? If there's any damage, will it be replaced?
We will, actually, there's the one street entrance, I believe it's Heard, that has been abandoned, or used to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
We will fix that and make sure that that's sealed off now because it has been abandoned. So that'll be cleaned up as well.
Ms. Fields? Okay.
So is
Commissioner.
that every every walkway gonna get ADA?
On that stretch, so the ones at Empire were upgraded when we did the signal about 5 years ago. But then you go down to where the Grand Crossing is, those ADA ramps will be improved. So those are really the ones there that need the improvement to bring them up to the current standards. So anything within the project limits gets upgraded.
And how stretched out? I mean, is it a mile? Half a mile? I like to look at the money.
Yeah.
As the amount of land that it's working on. So can you tell me how much, actually, is it 4 blocks there?
It's one thing I didn't look up is,
Now, because there's a pretty, there's one big long block.
yeah,
Then it goes to the Grand Crossing. And then after that, that's it.
that
So
just goes down, yeah, to the city,
So-
so.
for 284,000 and some major street money,
So it's $50,000 of city major street money.
yeah, I
And the total
understand.
estimate's 284.
I understand that.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get an understanding of how much money we're spending and what we are spending it on. So that answered my question. Thank you.
Mr. Evers.
Just a question, maybe for you, sir. The ADA ramps, about half the time, they end up to be low spot, which is a collection becomes ice in the winter, dirt, all that stuff.
We do our best, but that ADA requirement is so stringent. The grades that you have to meet, it's a fact of life that it happens everywhere. So we do our darndest to make sure that we can make sure that the water keeps going. But construction is not an exact science, so that does happen. But we have inspectors that watch those, make sure that, we put back as close as possible to what's designed. And it's an unfortunate thing with the ADA requirements, but they have to get the wheelchairs. So.
Thank you. One other question on the crosswalk, you said Empire, I think that was done a few years ago. This would probably be a city question, but there's a crosswalk button that got knocked over last winter, still laying there, I think, on the sidewalk.
Yeah, we don't intend to do any signal improvements, but I can make one of it, and we can talk to the city about. Severance Electric is the signal contractor that works with the city a lot, and it should be a pretty quick fix, and we can definitely.
You good?
Was there a police report on that incident? I'm just so sick of people knocking our poles down and then we have to pay for it. And nobody ever gets held accountable for it.
Hmm.
Do we know if anyone was held accountable for hitting that pole?
Certainly, probably something that could be,
He thinks that's funny.
something that could be researched or something, so.
Beg your pardon?
I'm sure it's something that could be researched, but, if it's been, how long you say it's been down?
I noticed it last winter.
Uh-huh.
I do too.
Wow. Yeah, so,
As far as I know, the little stub is still there, just laying around.
okay.
Oh,
And the stub has value too.
They took some of the,
Mhm.
some of
Mhm. We'll direct that to the manager's office, I guess. Let's see if we can, is it been any report, maybe Public Works or somebody might know something.
Where was this public?
Or is it
Empire and Pipestone.
It's one of the push buttons for the pedestrian signals.
It's been down since winter, so. Mhm. Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Sure.
Mhm. Next item on the agenda, discussion, City Center Plaza.
Yeah. So, in relation to that, and is places I have been, there's always a plaza around the local government or administration buildings.
Mhm.
And at this juncture, with the improvements coming to the park, especially with the monument coming, that actually fits more of a plaza than it does as a park.
Mhm.
Even the events we have out there, farmers market, not in a park. It's really a plaza.
Mm-hmm.
It fits better. Even the funding is different from a plaza than it is from a park. It's not much to say. It's just it fits that plaza, not a park. Like I say, once that monument go up, that's what it can be. Now, it still can be called City Center Plaza, Pete Mitchell. All we're doing is replacing the park with plaza.
Okay, then
What is the difference?
Plaza,
A plaza and a park?
the
What's the
difference
difference?
between a plaza and a park. The plaza is more of an attraction for your downtown as opposed of a park where you go for certain activities, family picnics, corporation picnics, things of that nature. Plazas are more relaxed invite to your downtown area. It's more of a, what you want to say, it's more of your, if you was giving it facts, show me your cover. What is it about? Kind of opens up the eye and invites you more to the downtown area. Brings in more people, more photographers, brings in a lot. A park is a park. Anywhere you go, a park is a park. You go to a plaza and anywhere, it's different. It's different than their parks. It's different than any other area in their city. Chicago, they have a plaza, Daily Plaza. It looks different than any park. Big difference. I hope that answers your question.
funding wise, I mean.
Funding wise, there's a difference in plazas and parks.
No,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want me to get into how? Okay, so in a park, you ask for your funding in parks, playground equipment, basketball, stuff like that, picnic area, electricity, lighting, maybe if you're big enough, swimming pool, whatever, things of those nature. You ask for money for a plaza, you're not asking for playground equipment. You might be asking for concrete slabs. You might be asking for your ground to be paved, with pavers. We talk about pavers. You'll see pavers in a plaza. If we want to keep those pavers, that would be a place for them. But a park, it's not a park. You can't have a corporation picnic out there. You can't. It's not big enough. It's a cover. It's your introduction to downtown. It's a big difference.
Director McGinnis.
So reading something here online from a site called DivSense, the difference between a park and a plaza says when used as nouns, park means a tract of ground kept in its natural state, about to residents, such as for the preservation of game, for walking, riding, or the like, whereas plaza means a town's public square. That's what that is. Park, furthermore, definition, an area or land set aside for environmental preservation or recreation, tract of ground kept in its natural state, about or adjacent to residents, piece of ground in or near a city, town, enclosed and kept for ornamental and recreation. So park is more recreation, plaza is just the center of town. And I'm from Grand Rapids, so we got the Calder Plaza, which is the same as that across the street. So.
From back on the funding, and maybe Mr. Little can, HUD, did they give any money for that location before? I think it was.
No,
Or was it
but
from
the
the-
Department of Agriculture has, and under certain circumstances, HUD and others could.
Mhm.
I don't think the name being changed would necessarily have any adverse effect on the fact that regardless of how we title it, it performs the functions of a park.
Mhm.
And for that reason would still qualify for whatever kinds of assistance might be available.
It's still used for public gatherings.
Yeah, it's still open to the public.
Yeah.
With the same use.
Mhm.
It's just, I mean, to me, it's just suited to be that. It's suited to be the introduction of downtown. The same thing it is when we get to the State Theater with the DDA. One of our conversation was Civic Center,
Mhm.
as opposed to just opening it up back up as a theater,
Mhm.
but opening it as a Civic Center. So that's, and you ask what's the difference? There is a difference the way that, how can I say, the way that society looks at going to a civic center as opposed to I'm just going to the theater. Even though you could take that theater and do the same things you do at a civic center. For some reason or another, it sounds better.
Mhm.
It sounds more attractive.
Mhm.
You go to your city centers and you go to your plazas in different cities, and then you go to the events they have in the parks, in that same city where they have a plaza. Whatever they have in a plaza is going to be scaled down, and it's more or less an introduction to, you can say it's an introduction to your community as a whole, because if you gave, say like you got the farmer's market, that's in the plaza, that's introducing people to different areas of 49022, if you want to put it that way,
Mhm.
as opposed to just being Ben Harbor. The plaza now becomes 49022's plaza. I don't know if anybody else has a plaza in 49022. But there is a difference. As Mr. Little said, it doesn't have much of an effect on what we need for it.
Mhm.
As opposed, we don't need playground equipment.
Who's first? Anybody? You got it? Ms. Fields, you got anything? Okay. Which one of y'all went first? I don't
I have
know.
something to say.
Come on.
I'm standing here.
All right.
Thank you. The plaza in Ben Harbor sounds great to probably a lot of you. But things we should be addressing, you guys don't even try to address. Like trying to come up with some reparations for our people here in this country, in the city.
Mhm.
You guys don't talk about that. You didn't talk about how the Dunes managed to be the 3 holes of a Jack Nicklaus golf course. You didn't question that. You got some of you weren't here, so I can't blame all of you. But I'm from Strawberry. I was raised on Strawberry Court. You don't even know where that is.
Yeah. Sure do.
A plaza in Ben Harbor. We should have more important things to do than that. If downtown need a plaza, then we need paved streets all through the neighborhood. Shouldn't have to ask or get city income tax and all of that to get what we want. Some of you guys weren't even for that. A plaza in Ben Harbor. Why don't you ask the citizens? That's how we did about medical marijuana. You want to call a plaza, ask the citizens. Don't you guys sit up there and make it like that, like you guys were gonna make medical marijuana non-existent in the city of Ben Harbor because of the police department, because of the preachers, because of some of you guys up there. Just think about it. You know I'm a problem to you guys, but you gotta think about us and stop thinking all up somebody else's butt. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roberts, I think you had your hands up.
Just some comments on the plaza and then public safety related comments on Plaza as well.
Mhm.
In my mind, Mr. Duncan also.
Oh, no, keep it up there, talk to us right there.
Yeah.
Often has some great things to say.
Mhm.
In my mind, plaza is just really a definition of the space,
Mhm.
how it's used. I don't think it implies spending, just appropriate spending for its intended use. So a higher density kind of a thing, more benches, more community gatherings, chats, that sort of thing. I think it's a good welcome mat for the city, which I think was maybe some of what you were trying to say, Jerry, Mr. Commissioner Edwards. There are some things related to safety in that park right now.
Mhm.
And there are the lights that are along Main Street. There are 4 lights on that front, the Main Street frontage to the park.
Mhm.
3 of them have been out for about a year.
Hmm.
1 of them has been on 24/7 for about that amount of time. I don't know if there's a major problem with that, but
Hmm.
lighting is important for safety. County Commissioner Yarborough spoke here last fall with concerns for a street light that had been hit by a car more than years ago. And that's, the pole's not there, there's no light there, concerned about safety.
Mhm.
And there's been no action on that or these other lights that I mentioned. I think that'd be a good thing to tune into.
Mhm. It takes care of.
One of the, discussions I had with a couple of people from Avonmarsh.
Mhm.
And also, I think it was the convention I went on in Muskegon, I believe. It's related to parks, which could be anywhere really, but related to parks is to have the solar panels for the parks.
Mhm.
And that way all our lights will be solar lights. So that is the discussion I done had, conversation I done had, and I am still looking into how all that works. I do know at this time, I don't know how long it's gonna last, but there's been, in fact, I did get I think it was in the Capcom magazine or something, Municipal MML magazine, I believe, where they were, conversation would be coming up about using solar panels for lights in different areas of the city. But I'm just thinking for parks, would be great. Saves the city a lot of money, don't have to worry about too much electricity. Maybe somebody run into all the panels, but other than that, I don't know. It would save, we have Pete there, maybe he can tell us what it'd save us. Save us money?
Yeah. Oh, you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to it, and then the upfront cost obviously is there. So you'd have to weigh the differences between what you're going to pay per month versus what you pay upfront. But yeah, it's definitely has some merit.
So if that helps, I'll use some of it. And one of the, if I may, one of the things on, never mind, I'll leave that alone.
Ms. Fields, go ahead.
I do I want to circle back in regards to lights. I know, and this can be for little for you as well, it'll be helpful to know how complicated it is to actually repair the pockets and things that we have out there, being that I know for holiday lights and different things, we don't have power. We have like tons of extension cords. It's a task. And so it's almost that time again, right? Sooner than later. And so I was wondering, what is the process for that was that a order that's been put in for public safety, or what is an update for that?
Lights
And
on.
the sockets and all of that, like when I know we mentioned it before, like the DDA meetings, but like the sockets actually working, the lights and all of that.
It's an annual process we go through just before we get ready for the holidays to have the electricians go through and check and test every one of them to see what's working and what's not, and make the necessary repairs and so forth. This city doesn't have and sorely needs an electrician to handle its ongoing electrical needs. But under the current circumstances, that's how we do it, and the best that we're able to do.
So is there a action plan for it? I'm asking, is it a time frame as to how we can plan for that, being that this triggered me thinking about the holiday lights and different things that'll be coming up in several months. So would it be outsourced, or would it be completed prior to the need for it in regards to
It will be
wiring?
completed prior to the need for it, and typically what occurs is around mid-November, Mr. Meeks contacts the firm that has been doing that for years, because they know where it is and what's there, what typically goes wrong, and how to take care of the need.
We'll go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. Discussion priority health fitness center.
Yeah, so, everybody talking about the fitness centers, priority, new location. As I had said before, the fitness center was already approved of, at least before I knew there was a unified civic monument. And I didn't know, I just found out about the United Civic Group, last year? I saw this year sometime. But the fitness center, I knew about that a while back. But the location came up, I believe, after the Unified Civic Monument Group kind of like overlap. Let's get a location. Hey, we got the Civic Monument Group coming. Let's put the monument here. Let's put the fitness center here. Understand what I'm saying so far? After thinking of that, and if you look at it, would you? And as Mr. Duncan say, ask the citizens. With any type of monument of that stature, a significant history piece, that piece that means so much to every race, not just one color, but every race. Would you want a fitness center next to it? I think that's the question. Who doesn't benefit to have both of them there? If you take it separate, who would be fitness actually? Who will it benefit?
So, co-chair, I think is, maybe correct me,
Location.
correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the, as known now, City Center Park, or
What'd
maybe
you say?
City Park, or soon to be maybe Plaza or something. I think that's already, it's already been discussed. That
Right, the plaza has already been discussed.
when I'm fitness center is, I think it went through and it's been determined that
That's where it's going.
that it won't be going there. So
Right.
I thought we were looking for another location.
Another location.
Yeah.
So my question would, go ahead, Mr. Little.
Without giving any push toward any specific area or anything, I thought it might be useful if I just kind of go back and review what I know about the history on this.
Mhm.
Not long after I came on board, I happened to come across some discussions that were going on regarding this effort. Priority Health, as you know, is a big insurance company. And they had been promoting putting these kind of centers in downtowns in a number of communities across the country, and especially here in the Midwest. As a matter of fact, I remember seeing in one of the papers where the one in Grand Rapids was opened in downtown. And I believe, that if I recall correctly, the overture was made to the city about obtaining one and putting it in downtown and requiring that we had to have local donors come up with $100,000 to support it going in. I remember at a point in time, it had to be, I think I've been here going on somewhere between 30 and 40 months now, it had to be 2 years ago at least, that the commission passed a resolution saying that they supported it and that it was to go downtown. And at that time, it's my recollection that City Center Park was suggested. Now, at that time, there was no discussion. It was over a year before the discussion come up about a monument. And there was only one farmer's market pavilion there. And we hadn't even gotten into too much discussion about going for a second. And I recall that specifically, City Center Park up on this end toward Wall and Pipestone was where it was talked about going. Whirlpool made a donation of $50,000 to support that. Lakeland, now it's Corwell, Lakeland Spectrum at the time made a commitment to give $50,000. Then we went through a process where it was supposed to have, the equipment came in and it was getting close to winter. And I recall that they put it in the incubator building as a place to hold it so they could do it the next summer, which was last year, and when it was supposed to go in. We went through a process of Priority Health kind of starting to write us almost weekly about when are we going to pay the other money. We hadn't gotten the $50,000 from Spectrum Lakeland yet. And we, as a matter of fact, I recall being asked to follow up on that, which I did. And Spectrum Lakeland actually drew up an agreement that the city had to sign dealing with that issue, whether or not it was, where it would put it and how soon it would do it and all of that. And that was also one of the conditions of Priority Health. As a matter of fact, I remember seeing some emails in the last 6 months indicating that it was to be started by July 1st, because I recall last year what happened. They needed something like, I forget how many weeks for their concrete to cure, to meet their specifications and so forth. And it just got too late to do that. And so it was moved forward to this year. So that's where that hangs with as much information as I know about it. Now, where and whatever, whoever decides, that's up to you all. But that I figured you needed to be aware of that information.
Downtown, I came up with two actually. Liberty Park and Arts Park. Liberty Park is not used for really the movies. That's the only thing we use it for. Arts Park, they have two of them. The only other one that would be considered downtown, if it's considered downtown, would be Morton. It's the only other park I know that's on Main Street. But that's like down at the end. Those are the only parks that are downtown. Now, there is other land downtown that belongs to the city. Or park is downtown.
There-
But if he's going on a timeline, that's what, 2 years, next year.
And there may have to be some discussion and negotiation about whatever is done because there are written agreements. But the other thing I wanted to respond to when you said, who's it going to benefit and who's going to use it? The idea behind it is that with people starting to live in downtown, with your arts district, your activity that's being generated as a result of Harbor Shores and with the new facility that could develop at the corner of Wall Street and so forth, that you'd have a significant number of people within the area, that this would be just another positive amenity that they could use, free of any charge or whatever, to whatever extent they wanted to use it and so forth, which doesn't necessarily have to do with any specific about where it's put, but the idea was that it be available to support this overall developing area. And just like if, just like the alley and the social district, and all of these things start to create a synergism of activity and so forth. So that's the other piece I want to say in terms of who would use it. In theory, everybody.
For sure. You get, okay, all right. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go on my memory. We got the resolution that said, here's an item that could be put in the park. And the money was there. First thing I can remember is Ben Harbor didn't have to pay a dime. No out-of-pocket expenses for Ben Harbor. We were all geeked up. That's good, okay? So, nowhere in any resolution did it say, I don't know what agreement staff signed with Corwell, but nowhere in the agreement did it say that we approved the resolution that didn't call for a spot. Later, it came in, they wanted to not put it there on the southwest corner. They wanted to put it on the northwest corner. That's when we thought that it was a little too much. Question was, I did the research, they said 15 by 15 was the size of the unit. Now we find out the unit is 37 by 38.
37 by 38.
Yeah, so there was some problems with what was presented, and I think it is a great thing. I wanted to have something like that in Union Park, but it didn't happen. So my issue is we can ask through the chair, I would like to see what is that agreement that was signed, that we have to go with the location. I need to know,
Yeah.
I need that to be given to everybody. That if there was one, then what did it say? Because there's a lot of us think there's a better location, and I think the Liberty Park, still downtown, still within walking distance. I know that the one on Territory is full of flowers, don't have room. That's pretty much, and then there's other parks,
Parks over
Fair Park.
No, the one, or is that private land, right across, straight across the street from Mason Jar? Is that private or is that city? It's straight across the street from Mason Jar.
Private.
It's private?
Correct.
Oh,
Who said
okay,
that?
so that's not a park.
Oh, you said that, okay.
Honorable Mayor, did you have something to say?
Yes, sir. two things for me. The concrete is an issue. Liberty Park is green space, Mr. Chair. And I just, you know, once we pour the concrete and we remove the greenery, it's gone. And that's problematic for me because when people come downtown, you know, I would rather them be able to enjoy the greenery because we have a lot of concrete downtown. The city owns all of that lot behind Abbott Marsh. To pour, you know, concrete in City Center Park, I just absolutely cannot abide that.
Or the other one too, what is it, Liberty? Yeah, that's,
Well, I mean, City Liberty, I mean that, but I'm not supportive of pouring concrete in Liberty Park for a workout. I mean, they can go out to Gene Clark Park, and you know we got a whole space right out, concession stand here. Got a bunch of concrete here. If they want to do 3 days a week or however many days a week, they can use that concrete right there.
They need a base, man.
You know,
They need a base to put that thing on. And it's gonna cost us $20,000.
so that's the you know, I'm just, you know, but I just don't think to shove it, you know, to try to shove it in City Center Park, I'm definitely not for that. Liberty Park is a stretch. I mean, I like that right behind the library, people can go outside, they can sit down, they can enjoy it, but to put a bunch of equipment there, you know, I just can't see it. Maybe I don't see the new innovative way. Maybe I'm missing it. But I just would hate to see a bunch of equipment set in Liberty Park for Corewell Health workout facility. I mean, I just don't feel like, why would you just be able to take land like that and use it for that purpose? That's just, you know. And again, that's the people's property and the people's land. So are we leasing the land? Are we selling the land? Or are we just taking the land and say we're going to give it to Corewell or allow Corewell to use it for this workout facility?
It's not Corewell. It's Priority Health.
Okay, pardon me, AKA DBA Priority Health.
so,
So that was gonna be my next suggestion. Places downtown that already got concrete. Now, the one I went to look at in Barron Springs, which Ravens took me, and you was talking about the base, it was flat. It was flat. The only things that needed a base was that step up thing, and I don't know if that was really a base as much of it was built. But the rest of the ground was flat. And the only difference between that is they had the same material on it as they have at the House of Hope for their basketball court. Yeah, and it's right behind the Barron Springs Elementary and Junior High School. And it's, you have to go down the side street to see it. Because we circled Brown. You cannot see it from the main street.
Director McGinnis and then Mr. Gunther.
Just, I'm glad we're having this discussion that you guys don't like that location. We just talked about that being the plaza / park, whatever we call it. It's a centerpiece of Ben Harbor. It's already small. We have the pavilion right next to the pavilion, certainly there, but we don't have a lot of land to work with. And mind you, I mean, for the things that we have downtown, you know, we had In-N-Out, 1,000 people. Juneteenth, 800 people. Last year, again, 800 people. We had concerts down there, hundreds of people. So we take some, and just because Corewell Health say junk. It's not. So I'm sure we have other places. I remember the conversation different too, because the first one was no concrete, and then we had paper concrete. Remember that? So we're paper concrete to put it in the spot that we don't want it, take up space, and then people are going to take a break from buying their weed, get a drink in the social district to work out. They go home and get high. That's
Dang that.
Mr. Guthrie,
So I first became aware of a fitness court, just random research, right? And then I heard from that actual company that they were actually doing one here, and then they said it would actually be downtown. So just reading from their website, they say, how do you change health outcomes to make an impact? You invest in healthy communities. Priority Health, the National Fitness Campaign, have been on a joint mission to do just that since 2019. Then they go on to just talk about how, per the CDC, like these Americans have obesity, diabetes, all of these different things that they're suffering from. So I'm asking, is when we debate a location, where do most of these people live? And wouldn't it make more sense to put it in walking distance to them? If it's really going to
Who's
be
these
effective?
people you speaking of?
Us.
Oh.
Health is.
It's no secret if you read like any CDC data that Black people suffer more from obesity, diabetes, hypertension, all of those things, right? So why aren't we putting this in close proximity to where people live, and not more affluent? Because the further you get this way, the more it costs to live, right? So that means that poor people are more likely to be affected by poor health outcomes. So let's put it closer to poor people.
There's other parks. We've got a great piece of land, mitigated property on by Market Street. That's a park. It belongs to us. They gave it to us. It's contaminated. But if you're gonna put something, over, it's okay. and what's gonna be down there on Market Street? A brand new store and 15 other little apartments with people. They're not rich, but they'll still have access to something like that. So that's another location.
walking distance from River Terrace and High Rise, and so.
Yeah, that's where they gave us for 22 acres in Jean Clark Park. It belongs to us.
Mr. Little.
Just as a point of information, I would hope we would not use that for something like that. We're in the process right now of trying to negotiate a resolution or settlement with the National Park Service that would address what they consider an infraction when we had the dialysis center built on one of those properties. And in trying to reach a resolution with them, we want to include that property in freeing it up so that we can use it for development purposes and offer some other properties to them that can be dedicated permanently for park-like purposes, such as along Ox Creek.
Oh my God. I guess the consent judgment don't mean nothing. I guess a court order don't mean nothing.
Once again, you're talking about a prime piece of property practically in the heart of downtown that could add significantly to the city's tax base and whatnot. And right along what we're doing on Ox Creek would be the perfect place to add dedicated parkland that could be that indefinitely as we redevelop that.
Well, I agree with you, but to give up 22 acres of beach land and then come back and say, and get contaminated property for that, and then come back and say, no, we're gonna change our mind about it. But the 22 acres is gone.
Gone forever.
So, no, not forever, for 105 years. So, how do that work if we got prime property, Jean Clark Park, and they gave us this other property, a lot of it. It ain't just one lot. And most of it was all contaminated. One over here. There's plenty of it. So it's plenty places not. I don't know what you're trying to make of negotiating with them, because they didn't just say, we did something. They didn't say, well, maybe you did something. They said, you did something against the consent judgment. That's wrong. They didn't say, oh, no, you just kind of did it. They said, no, you did it. So now, for us to make arrangement without any consideration of Jean Clark Park, our cash cow, to bring in thousands of dollars here a year, and not even take into consideration, I just think it's horrible.
If I might, please.
Go ahead, Mr. Little.
That, what happened with Jean Clark Park and the way it was done is unfortunate, but that's done with. It's taken place quite some time ago. There's nothing that we can do about that now. But we have a current problem that when we try to apply to DNR for recreational funding,
They say
we
no.
are shut out because we have this infraction, a violation of the agreement that put this building on property that was part of that remediation agreement. I'm trying to clean up. I wasn't here when all that other stuff happened. I'm trying to get us cleared where we can get recreational money. And at the same time, I'm taking a look at all these little pieces that got thrown in there that didn't give much consideration to what was in the best interest of the city. And that piece right down there is definitely one of them that should not be just blocked away and not used. So what we're trying to do is see if we can't free up that property so that we can clean it up if it's contaminated or whatever, put it out for development. I've had at least 3 housing developers that have approached me in the last 6 months wanting to develop that piece. And I'm telling them, I'm sorry, we can't. But if we can get something resolved, remove the problem that with DNR so we can get grant funds, at the same time, get back some of our property that we can use and put some property in place that is not necessarily going to support housing or business or anything, then that's making the best of a bad situation.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
I want to get back to the location.
Let's-
I got 4 possibilities that's been, including the one the mayor gave me, Morton, well, scratch Morton, I'm sorry, Liberty, Arts Park, KKP, and behind Avonmark. KKP, King Clark.
Oh,
Okay. All right, since you got something you want to add on that?
So, I don't know if this is true. I heard somebody say something to the effect that there was an agreement that was signed.
On what the,
Location.
for priority, yeah.
Actually, it was Priority Health insisted when they gave us their $50,000 that we sign an agreement as to what we were going to do with the money and where and timeline and all that kind of thing. And that was done, yes.
Did they give-
My question, Mr. Chair, is was there an agreement signed that included land or land use?
Is it?
The location of land, physical land.
Actually, I think what the nature of the agreement was was just to confirm what had already been stated. I don't think it actually made any greater commitment on property or anything like that, but just to reaffirm that the money was gonna be used to do what had already been agreed to.
But the agreement, as Commissioner Henry was saying, there was never an agreement as to where. There was an agreement or resolution passed supporting the idea and supporting the Priority Health Fitness program, but there was never a resolution voted upon saying where this physical location was going to be located. That's where there's an issue. And now my question is, did Mr. Mitchell ever sign anything that would designate a physical location?
I don't honestly know for sure.
Could you find that out?
I will find it.
Because he does not have the authority again to sign for anything as it relates to land, use of land, or sale of land, lease of land, any of that. This is the second time.
So at that point, and I'll let you go, with the agreement of the chair, it wouldn't even make sense to go any further if we had to wait for that document. Yeah. It's-
We'll get his question answered though. He had his hand up there.
So you can go ahead with your,
My question would be, is the downtown portion of the language you use, is that something we agreed to with Priority Health, or is that a part of their program that is downtown?
I believe it's both. It was part of their program, and I think we agreed that we wanted it and would do it in downtown. And I'm not sure when or where that specific location came into the process. I just know that 2 years ago now, I remember the discussion centering around being over here in the park. And of course, like I said, apparently this was started before I got here. And I really became more involved with it at the end. Came to paying Priority Health the last of the money.
I think, before we can go this discussion couldn't go forever. I think we need to get a copy of the, any agreements or whatever was.
You kept on messing
Yeah.
around, you won't get it in this year, you won't put it in next year.
So, but, yeah, we can get that and, cause it's no need for further discussion on that. Yeah. Mr. Duncan, you know.
Where's the $50,000?
I can't,
Where's this $50,000 you got talking about?
It was paid to Priority Health. Well, not all of it. As best I can recall, I think it was something like $89,000 that was owed to Priority Health, which was paid from the $50,000 that came from Whirlpool and $50,000 that came from Lakeland Spectrum.
mm-hmm, okay.
So, Chair, I would just like to make sure that the full body gets
Yeah.
whatever that document is,
Mhm.
and that if there's any put together list of properties that are available for us to make that change, and definitely share it with us, that document. It's just,
Mhm.
I just turn around in a circle right now trying to think of what that document says it looks like.
So if, we can get, copy of the document to, all the commission, maybe get to the clerk and she can get it out to us. Commissioner Knight,
To the chair, I just want to add one more location, 251 Market, I don't know if the city owns that. It's got the steel right there across the street from the police station. It's a big old lot, steel wall.
Oh, that's,
Those-
Cassandra Booker.
Good spot. The police can-
No, I think it belongs back to the city. Did she
She
lose? I think she
We
lost.
gonna steal.
Oh,
That wall you talking about? Yeah.
It used to be a parking lot.
give it back.
So you can check that stuff out when you, yep. All right, we're gonna move on. Mr. Let me get, if you co-chair, Mr. Gunther, I had to talk with him. I'm gonna let him do his little, and then you can do your report here. Go ahead. Yeah, come, you come up here, please. Can't hear you clear.
Recently, well, not even recently, so last year with Principal Layton and Fairplain East, they made me aware of an event called the Billion Fathers March. So we did a smaller event last year, with folks that actually grow it this year. So this year we've been in discussion, and before we started to publicize, I wanted to get our route. So the idea was to start symbolically at Discovery Enrichment Center, which is where pre-K is, I think pre-K, and go to the high school, symbolically K through 12, right? That's about 1.2 miles. And so far, safety-wise, we have the Rough Riders, similar to Ashley Hines' bike party. They would, ride with us and block the streets just to make sure nobody was getting hit by cars and stuff like that. But besides that, like I said, I wanted to make sure we can get a route approved before we proceeded forward with collecting that event.
Okay.
So it will take place on September 15th, in solidarity with everyone else in the country who's doing this event. And what time is it? So we wanted to kind of get a collaboration on the time. That way it was, so we're open to suggestions on the time. Me, myself, I'm strongly leaning towards something towards between like morning and lunch. Another component of this program is fathers actually taking their children to school that day. So I figure if you take your kid to school that day, you want to leave and then come back. Like you might as well do the event in that same kind of motion. So.
Okay. Through on that item, it's not actionable right now, but can you work through we'll pass it through the manager's office to the public safety department, and you can work with the chief director McGinnis on that. Would that be okay with you?
So we're going to start at Discovery Enrichment Center. We all know it as the core school. Go down, so that would be west on Britain, south on Broadway, and then again west on Empire, and then our
Walk by that route. It's a lot of curves, a lot of people that's not part of that. Driving. I'm sorry. I said, why that route? You got a lot of curves. You got people traveling. It's not part of the march. Usually they're linear. But if you do all this, and then you got to go back to that, might not really quite honestly carry. So yeah, that's a lot of it's already amended.
I would say, well, the symbolism of going from K to 12, but also fatherhood is not always something that's welcome. Recently, we did a study where 92 people responded to a survey we did, basically about attitudes towards fatherhood. In our community, well, most people that responded to that survey agree that fatherhood is very important. I think there was no person that said it is. So
Let's go back to the route. Let's get to the route.
Right, I'm getting to that. But beyond that, the general attitude is that fatherhood isn't supported, right? So another part of this is also an awareness campaign of saying, hey, we are important, we are unified, we are here. So in my opinion, the slight inconvenience of somebody blocking your path for a couple of minutes is working.
So
In my opinion.
is clear on the route that you from what's pre-K? What is?
So from
That's
basically McCord School to then our high school.
Okay, so McCord and Britain. Okay, so you'd be going west on Britain
West on Britain.
to Broadway,
Yeah, south on Broadway, west on Empire.
west on Empire.
So let me say this, that you threw a really noble sentence out there, move from that. So you said a few people being inconvenienced is no big deal. What if I'm on my way to work and I got one more point, if I'm late, I'm fired, I don't know this is going, I'm held up by these people, you gonna tell that person, it's probably a father, yeah, well, you lose your job, it's a bigger purpose. I don't, we want to talk about that.
My pushback would be the same thing that happened with a fire stop or a police stop. That could also go in.
Right, we don't, why we don't have them like that, they're more lenient.
So a route would you from that location to the high school is what is from a public safety point, what route would you take to?
Empire, you're gonna go to high school, you're gonna go to high school. So,
No, I'm talking about if you coming from McCord.
so I wouldn't come. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the more turns you have, the more complicated it is. Blockers. Let's just ignore the people that live there and not part of this, because they're not important. So, but you have all these turns that, you know, there's, if this is gonna be school time, there's gonna be buses. It's not the bus is late because they should already be.
Yeah.
Well, they probably should have had this information before coming to here. I don't know. I can't really give you an alternate because it's the first I'm hearing.
It's the first time it's been brought up, so you know. So I guess what I'm thinking, that school there is, they're bringing the kids to school there at the pre-K school. What is the correlation?
To drop their kids off at school, whether that be that, MLK, East, middle school, high school, no matter what school, it could be Readiness Center, Head Start, regardless of the school, and the meeting point for those fathers in that march. After kids were already in school, the buses drop everybody off, then the march will start. So people are already in school, most people hopefully are at work and things like that, which is probably like the lightest part of the day, I think. Morning before lunch.
Okay. Commissioner.
I'm the chair. Let them work that out. They're the experts. Please, let them work it out. They're the expert. He presented it.
Well,
if he has a problem, he can come back and talk to you about it.
no, well,
But let them work that out.
I think,
I can't even see the clock up there.
I know you ain't worried about no.
Oh, yes, I do.
Well,
I'm like,
let me say this though.
I'm worried about it.
Let me say this. That
Dilly down.
let me say this. Can I say this? Please. It's presented, and so the coordination have to be with the public safety department, because they're going to be the ones that's making sure everything's safe. So that's why I asked that with the permission of the manager's office, you can go direct to the director of public safety there, and y'all work that out and
So
come up with something.
for clarity's sake, I'm still trying to understand this process. In the event we do something like this in the future, like what's step one? I don't understand what the process is.
Well,
So
yeah.
I start with
Anything blocking streets.
Yeah. So in this process, in this process of working this out, now you will get an education on the process, because I'm sure you'll be having some other events and stuff. So if it's dealing with like say blocking off streets and things like that, then we share some applications or something that so he can fill you in on all that while you're working this out. Okay.
So I should start with the other event with public safety too.
Yeah, what is
When we discussed.
bring that up again, refresh my memory. Bring that up again now.
Oh, so the expungement fair. So
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember when it was when she did the last one, but the Navi Mojay, she operates the Black and Brown Cannabis Guild. And as a part of what she does statewide expungement fairs. So she wants to do another one in Del Harbor this year, and the idea was to use the consortium building and kind of make it an expungement resource career fair that was extremely felon friendly. Because, well, everybody already knows the story behind that, but we wanted to block the street, I think that's 8th Street, next to it, and kind of use the street as a part of it. To give cover for people that may or may not feel some anxiety about being seen in that space. So it's about more than just getting something expunged. You can also be here for a number of reasons.
Okay.
So we kind of wanted to like I say, block that street next to it to
Mhm.
get some cover for those people that were participating.
Yeah.
So that will come to public safety,
Yeah.
yes, right?
Mhm.
So the only street that we don't own is Main Street, so we have the ability to
Mhm.
block off streets.
Mhm.
And then for me, it's not a matter of like yes or no, it's like how we gonna make this work.
Right.
So. and
Safest way.
Tuesday at 10. I need to-
Tuesday at 10.
We'll connect. Shoot me a text or what's available. We can meet, because 9:15 is gonna be here before you know it.
Yes. Yes.
So let's get together on Tuesday, Wednesday.
All right.
And stop calling me, text me. That's my,
Text you instead?
that's my. And then you want to actually you only messages. I don't call people back. We having a sidebar conversation right now.
All right. Okay, so you got that's taken care of. Okay. Mr. Duncan, you got a question on something? What?
I just want to thank, say your name again, James what? Mr. Gunther.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on behalf of Black people. Not many people come in here and have anything to try to do or say for Black men in particular, and the project you are representing. I really appreciate that, especially in a place like this was just totally about somebody else and not about us. It's totally about everybody else but us, and especially Black fathers. And I salute you like that, because nobody else, they don't have it. And it's not in their bloodstream or nothing. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
Co-chair.
Is there any kind of way I can have my presentation moved up where it's not at the end?
Nope.
Anyway, I've been
Not
trying
tonight.
to do this for.
Not tonight.
I've been
Public
trying to do
safety
this for
and parks.
months.
Not tonight.
All right, I'm gonna say this, if I can't do this, don't nobody ask me nothing else about a park. And I mean that seriously.
Oh, come on, be
Thank you
nice.
very much, I have nothing else to say.
All right.
Thank you. I do, plenty to say.
Come on.
He gave us this is great. How many times, Honorable Chair, can I ask for a comprehensive report from the Parks and
I
Rec
can
Department?
never get to it.
I got the flow, sir. Thank you. And I'm talking to the chair right now, because he and I have had this conversation month after month after month. The whole summer is almost gone, and I still haven't gotten it. What can we do about that situation, Honorable Chair?
Well, I suggest you use your, what's outlined in the charter that you do for inquiry, that you can go directly to the department and inquire and ask.
Excuse me, Chair.
Mhm.
I just had to make you to understand me. I have asked staff to give me that information.
Mhm.
I've asked you
Mhm.
3 times.
Yeah.
And you asked them to give it to me. Now, what happens when
Next.
that doesn't happen? What do I need to do?
Well-
Kick the chair over, start screaming and hollering and cussing?
What you
What do you suspect me to do?
ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What you can do is lobby your commissioners and put forth a resolution, because the commission had to act by resolution to direct. One commissioner can't just say, "Hey, go do this," or another commissioner can't say, "Hey, go do this." If you done did all this and you
Well,
feel
wait a
that
minute.
nothing had
Wait a
happened,
minute.
then you get.
You read the charter wrong. The charter said any 9 of us have, the first priority is to inquire.
You're right.
There's no reason why you, the chair, being disrespected because you asked for it 3 times and we didn't get it. It's bad enough me.
Mhm.
I'm not a chair of public safety and Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
You are, sir. and when I ask you in your position, and you ask them to do it, I should not, my charter don't say I need a resolution to ask a question. My charter says that I can inquire and the information shall be given to me. So I'm asking you,
Mr. Liff, can you help her out with that? I don't know what I really don't even know what she want. Can you tell them what you wanted? I'm sure Mr.
I'm
Taylor-
trying to
yeah.
get a comprehensive report of what happens in the Parks and Rec. And I haven't gotten it yet. Things are going on in the park already. The year is almost gone. And I can't get a comprehensive report. What is happening? I always see red flags if somebody turn me down for information.
I think that should be, presented, that request should be made to Mr. Mitchell. Of all the things that I do, I don't.
Can you
get too
pass it on to him
involved with that.
since you're sitting there for him today?
Again,
Yeah.
so this is what we do it. We don't support each other.
I just asked. That's all I can do.
That's all we can do is
Yeah,
ask.
Yeah, I go, what you want me to bring my pistol? And say,
So you can't give me no solution,
Yeah.
Chair.
all I can do is ask, just like you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanna know.
Just like you.
Now, let me say something else. I've been in that chair before.
Mhm.
So, and they put me off, and that ain't nothing unusual. But do you know that there's a job that you have to do? You know it, because you and I talked about it when you took over this chair.
Well, we can discuss that. This ain't part of the meeting, so meeting closed. Thank you.
I'll
we
get
can
you
discuss
next,
that.
I'll get you next month
Okay.
since you wanna,
We can discuss that.
no,
We don't have
because
to-
you and I have
Yeah.
already discussed it.
Thank you, Madam
So
Clerk.
that's all right. We'll discuss it in public next